Well, happy July 5th, everybody. I know it's not the big day, of course, but hey, hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. I know everybody was probably busting out the old grills and bourbon and beer and hanging out with good friends and family and all that. So sorry if everyone didn't get the notice on this one. I just got some stuff. I was finally able to get this one posted here right at the very last second, and I figured, well, coming off of some of Jackie Zikan's news and everything, it was a quick little easy kind of topic, and I was hoping that we could all kind of just get into this thing a little bit. What's up, Durrell? How's it going, buddy? Yeah, so tonight I figured would just be kind of a little bit of a debate, grab a nice pour. I know everybody probably had a hectic weekend and was hoping to maybe kind of just do a little kind of laid back, kind of chilled out little live stream. So that's what tonight is. Tonight's going to be a little bit of a debate and kind of what to not only me, but to you guys, what is the world of whiskey or whiskey looking like for the most part? So it's kind of, the future of it is for me, and we'll kind of get into this in a little bit, but it's just crazy how things always seem to be evolving and changing. Like it seems like a lot within a short, kind of period of time. So I was hoping maybe if you guys, want to kind of share in the chat, and if there's anybody who wants to kind of jump in and kind of join me tonight, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. I can always put the link and stuff in here as well. But I wanted to kind of get into just a little bit of what the future of whiskey kind of looks like. And I guess let's first start out, if there was anybody who wasn't or hasn't heard about the whole issue with Jackie Zikan and Old Forester, Brown-Forman, and kind of like what her new venture is. I wanted to kind of start off with that because for me, it said a lot about where I think not only some people, but some of the brands and where the future of whiskey is kind of going. And I think with the news today with what it was that happened was very kind of interesting, intriguing, and you kind of wonder if there will be others who will kind of follow along a little bit of what she's doing. But hey, before I get too far into this, let me say hi to everybody. Top Dog was the first one in here. How's it going, brother? Good to see you. My man Brett, how are you? Hopefully things are going well for you there out west. There he is. How's it going, Maddie? Good to see you, brother. Colt 45, what's up? My man, Durrell, how are you, buddy? The Turkmeister, how are you, bud? Always good to see you. Adam, good to see you, brother. Josh, how's it going, my man? So, yeah, a guy not too far from me down there in Milwaukee, big cigar guy. He does a lot of his content on Instagram, so definitely go check him out. His is DYWD Josh on Instagram, so go check him out. Big whiskey cigar guy. So if that's your thing, definitely check him out. So Smoking Firewater, good to see you. How's it going, Robert? Good to see you too. Paul, good to see you. Who else we got in here? How's it going, Jared, my man? Good to see you. Never fails. JG always pops in somewhere along the way. So there's my brother from another mother right there. How's it going, brother? Good to see you. And Jason will be over in an hour with the Junkies. They're going to be talking about, I think it was some of their favorite whiskeys of 2022 so far. So that's always an interesting kind of debate coming off of the fact that for me personally, outside of some of our picks and things that we've done, there haven't been that many, I'll say, great bottles that are necessarily worthy of being on like a top 5 or top 10 list. So we'll check them out in an hour over on Bourbon Junkies channel. So small little channel if you guys haven't heard of them. So how's it going, man? Cam, how are you doing, brother? Okay, so first let me kind of take care of a little house cleaning. Always got to start out with a little bit of the Mash and Journey stuff. Hopefully you guys can bear with me here with that. So couple things. So We've got our, I believe, coming out Friday. I think we're going to release, and I'll confirm this with Jason. Jason, if you're in here, you can confirm. But the plan, I believe, is to release our Taconic Rye, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, kind of an under the radar. So here's Taconic. Hopefully it'll kind of pop up there for you guys. Here's the little label on the back. So we didn't do like a true sticker, but that will be on the back of the bottle. So that's our Taconic Barrel Proof Rye, 121 proof. And I believe it's right around that 5+ years old. So really excited to release that. Got into that one the other night, wanted the bottle to open up a little bit as well. Super under the radar brand as far as I'm concerned. So if you're not familiar with Taconic out of the state of New York, do yourself a favor, get familiar with them. They do some pretty honest things. So I was just reading Honest Charlie, and I said pretty honest things, not to imply that they're dishonest by any means. I was reading Honest Charlie's. Where did it go? There it is. I was reading this as I said, Honest Distillery. So yeah, we'll get into that in a second. So. And then let's see what else we got. So in my glass right now, which again, we talked a little bit on Patreon Live last week. What's up, Popham? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. I saw you did a video, and that looked like a lot of fun. One thing I want to really check out. There's the man. How's it going, Ritter? So right now in my glass, this is our Penelope blend that we did last year. That is coming very soon, more than likely. So I think they're going to pull, or may have already pulled, that from the toasted barrel. So that was the blend that we did, Jason and I did last year, which we then took that same blend, put it in a toasted barrel out there on the East Coast with Penelope. And it's been sitting there for now several months. And I think based on what I had last week, things have really developed really nicely. So if you're a Penelope fan, and especially toasted, this will be an interesting kind of, I think, bottle for you. It was our blend from last year, now hit with a nice toast on it. So how's it going, Adam? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, it is. I mean, for me, it was when I kind of got into it, probably now going back, almost probably 2 years ago, it was something I thought was already, you could see the writing on the wall with them, how and where things were kind of really starting to develop. So glad that we've gotten to this point now where they got a little bit more age, things have started to kind of round out a little bit. So that will be this Friday. And then we're probably looking at this bad boy right here the following Friday, which will be, I don't know what the date is, but not this Friday, but the following, we're going to be probably more than likely releasing our Old Forester single barrel proof bourbon. So this guy came out. I mean, we are pleasantly surprised. Ethan was there. Katie was there. Who else did we have there? Michael from Sunday Evening Scotch was there. Kelsey Dime was there. And we had a good little debate when we were there. I think we were all pretty dead set on what we chose. And I think now, after it sat in the barrel a little bit longer, it really rounded out and got even better. So for 131 proof is what it was, 131.1 proof. I couldn't be happier with that. The early ones for me with some of the Old Foresters were, I guess I'll just say, like straight trash. I mean, it was like drinking like gasoline. They were so hot. They had weird flavor profiles. This is much more of those darker elements, but drinks incredibly, I hate to use the word smooth, but for 131 proof, it is nice and velvety. I'll say that. So, all right, so let me go back in, and if you guys want to chime in with kind of some of your thoughts, and again, we'll go through what kind of things are looking like, and that was what I really wanted to really discuss, was just kind of where it looked like, whiskey, or what the future of whiskey was really kind of looking like. I know we all have a kind of a different maybe opinion or whatever it may be, but something that's going to be very, I think, important for a lot of what we all do and what it is you guys enjoy. I think we're right now in the cusp of things maybe changing. I don't want to say necessarily good or bad. They're just going to change, and it is what it is, and it's up to us to, I guess, kind of either go with the flow, accept what the changes are, maybe not accept them. But it's going to be very interesting to see where things are really kind of starting to kind of gravitate toward. So, all right, let me thanks, Robert. Appreciate this. So let's start before I get into all of the information regarding Jackie and her new venture and all of that. That was interesting, in of itself. So, but let's see what Robert says. So the future of whiskey can be based on recent history. What percentage of your purchases this year are from smaller craft brands, Lucky 7, Foregate, Wilderness Trail, versus older known ones? So funny that you say that, because that was kind of on my notes. It was number 2, actually, Robert. So thanks again for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. So I guess let's talk a little bit about that part of it. And I'm in agreement that I think a lot of, let's call it, either smaller brands, NDPs, so non-distilled producing, whiskey brands. Barrel King is a great example of that. Again, a smaller one, Taconic, is a good example of that. Penelope, again, now they're sourcing things. They're not a huge company, so I would say that they're probably still falling within that kind of craft-ish kind of category. But I tend to agree, where I think a slight shift is happening away from some of the bigger brands. And I think people may finally start to realize, and for a good reason, is that a lot of these smaller, craft distilling companies, or, NDPs, some of those whiskeys that maybe they had purchased, several years ago that were still young, have now started to kind of, gain some age. The whiskey is improved. So I think as a lot of those companies were building themselves, those whiskeys along, with them building, aged, and we're now starting to kind of reap the benefits of that age. I mean, I think we all understand that a 2-year whiskey probably isn't going to be necessarily the greatest thing, but we're now in the day and age where these craft distillers are reaching those 5, 6, 7-year ages. And we're starting to see a lot of these companies, shine. Frey Ranch, a lot of Wilderness Trail stuff, Penelope stuff. Again, they're sourcing. But if we're using, some of these just like NDPs, a company or a brand close to me, Driftless Glen, perfect example. I mean, a lot of you guys who are part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club got to taste what our bourbon and rye was. I mean, going back a few years ago, 3 years ago, that stuff wasn't nearly that good. But when we finally have gotten into those, 5, 6 year ranges, and things are starting to really, get some really nice, ages, the whiskey is starting to kind of shine. We're all finally starting to see and understand what a lot of those other companies were doing. And that's kind of where I thought, and Starlight, Ethan, is a great thing to kind of reference there as well. I mean, what they were just doing even, 2 years ago is not what they're doing now. So a lot of these things that have come to age, it's the product of whiskey. I mean, it frankly needs a lot of age. I'm not telling you guys anything, but to drink younger whiskey, I understand why they have to put it out. They got to pay the bills. If they're not producing a lot of clear spirits, well, they have to put out, younger whiskeys to kind of get some of their money back, because, well, it's an expensive thing. So that's where, that's kind of where I think we're going. And I think people are starting to, and you guys can kind of chime in here, but I think people are really starting to truly appreciate some of these smaller companies, and rightfully so. And it's to me important to not only embrace some of that, but to support a lot of these guys. They're still, in the overall aspect of things, very small when you're comparing them to Beams and Makers, all of those guys. It's anything like that. Buffalo Trace, they're not going to really ever compete with them. That's not their objective. Their objective is to put out fantastic whiskey, or as good as they possibly can, and kind of let their craft, maybe their terroir or whatever you want to call it, shine. Starlight's a good example of them having their own kind of unique flavor. So anyway, I'm going to go back through some of the comments. I'll highlight what some of you guys have. And let's see, what do we have here? Because this is an important, thing to hear, I think, others' perspectives on that. So TK says, and again, there's a ton of whiskey out there that is great and doesn't have to come from the big guys. Couldn't agree more. Let's see. Yep, agree there. Starlight's doing some amazing things. And again, and another one, Cedar Ridge is making some good stuff. Again, I know when they did a couple things, even going back a couple years ago, they were really on a really kind of interesting, fun track. But now that their stuff's starting to kind of, gain in age a little bit too, it's really starting to kind of come to light. So couldn't agree more with that as well. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, so this is one I don't have a lot of experience with. I think I tried a rye that they had, but it was before, maybe it was about a year or so ago, and I don't totally remember it, to be honest, Todd. So I know a lot of people have talked a lot of really good things about it. I know Lance from Whiskey Tornado was a really big fan of that. He had the distiller owner on his channel, so I know they're kind of up and coming. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, Driftless was unreal, and yeah, so it's just one of those things where, I mean, not that long ago, outside of Wisconsin, no one knew what Driftless Glen was, and that's how's it going, brother? Good to see you again. That's the thing that's nice about these smaller brands. Same thing with even Starlight, Wilderness Trail, all of these kind of smaller companies. Penelope, whether you're making it or buying it, you can say the same thing for Smoke Wagon when it first kind of was coming out. Not so much anymore, but now we're to the day and age where everyone knows what Smoke Wagon is. Again, they're buying barrels and sourcing and everything like that. But again, the idea was for these companies that people aren't familiar with to get familiar with, start buying the whiskey and kind of seeing how things kind of shake out. So, yeah. So, and here's another good example. So William, with ASW down there in Georgia, they're another one that I think up until, recently, outside of kind of that area, were not very well known, rightfully so, from the standpoint of that's kind of the way it is for a lot of these small distilleries, in individual states, is that not everyone's going to know all of it. Lack of distribution, we get it. So that's another company that's been doing some really, really fantastic things as well. So, I'm really, really digging what a lot of these smaller brands, and again, whether they're sourcing it or making it, obviously you give them more credit if they're committed, where they're making their own stuff and producing it that way. That's a huge deal. But even the guys that are, sourcing, whether they're blending, finishing things, Fourgate's another fine example. They're not huge. I mean, their big batches now are going to be, in the neighborhood of like 4,000-ish bottles. So when they start doing a little bit more of a standard release, their batch may be in that, 4,000 range, something along those lines. So again, they're not big. Old Carter, all of these companies have at one point had to make a name. I remember when Old Carter, you could buy this stuff, you could find it. Same thing with Foregate. They're all getting so difficult to A, find, B, obtain and drink, all of that stuff. So it's just nice to see there's a lot more good competition and really good whiskeys that are out there. We'll kind of get into some of the pricing and where some of that stuff was going. And I was kind of talking to someone today about some prices of barrels and all of that. I won't mention who, but it was very interesting just to hear what some of the prices and all of that are for A, if you buy new make, B, if you're buying something that's got a little bit of age, like a 3 or 4 year old Kentucky, bourbon, what the cost for a barrel is. So we'll start to see the pricing part of things, I think, start to go up. Maybe not significantly, but we're going to start to see these price points really start to kind of go up on some of these things. Everything, as we all know, is more expensive now, and it trickles down to us. So that's just part of finance. So let's see what else we got. There's the boss. How are you doing, Katie? Always good to see you. Glad to have the Turks in here as always. So, how's it going, Dave? Good to see you, brother. What else we got here? Wanted to see if there was any other. Did anyone? Just trying to see if anyone tagged me if I missed a comment or anything. So, boy. It's been a heck of a day too. So cool running. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for being in here. So anyway, all right. So let's talk before, again, we'll get into the Jackie stuff here in a second. But you know what? Cheers to you guys. Hopefully you had a great weekend. I want to back up here a little bit, slow this thing down. This is just our Penelope toasted. So just wanted to sip on this one. I haven't had this since last week. So. There's so much marshmallow, this kind of creamy fudge that's there on it. The blend was already nice that we did on the Penelope. And I think personally that toast, what it did, made that a whole completely different whiskey and one that I really, really enjoy. So I can't wait to get that out to all the Mash and Journey members. That'll be pretty awesome. So all right, let's see if we have any other questions. So I guess if I missed anything and anyone wants to kind of shoot something, send me a little, make sure you put it at so I can see in pop up on the phone, then I can highlight it. We can kind of discuss, one of your questions or comments. I wanted this to be as much about you guys as me just sitting here rambling. I don't want to just do that the whole time either. And if there's somebody who wants to come in, just let me know. I can drop the link in here, and we can have a little conversation as well. So, all right, what do we got here, Paul? Okay, so I have to wonder though, are these crafts gaining ground just in the whiskey fan small world? Does anyone know though if they're actually putting a dent overall sales shelf space in stores? Good question. I think unfortunately a lot of us, just out of how it is we all kind of, are in the whiskey world, it's a little bit kind of a tight-knit community for the most part. But interesting from the standpoint that, are they making a dent? I don't know if they need to make a dent like we think they are. I think they are. I think there are much more brands locally to a lot of people that have gotten more popular in each market that makes it enough of a dent maybe in that market and surrounding areas. But again, I think when you look at things, again, I'll use just a couple different things as an example. Driftless Glen by me, again, up until not long ago, not many people knew about them outside of Wisconsin. Well, they've gotten everywhere. Troy from Pop 'em Don't Watch 'em, they just did a pick. They're down in Louisiana. We did one, obviously Wisconsin, but we're distributing them all throughout the United States. Wilderness Trail, again, they were a small distillery out down there in Danville, Kentucky. Not a lot of people knew exactly what they were doing, but big things. Another one, Frey Ranch, out of Nevada. I mean, who would have thought there would have been something big like that coming out of, the state of Nevada, where they're doing all their own distillate and everything. So I think there's a definitely a big enough dent that they're making in the world of, let's say, American whiskey. So that's just my opinion, Paul. I don't know if that's worth a damn or whatever, but that was a very good question. So Green River is very good. I tried some last week, and again, Josh, I agree 100%, and I believe that company just got purchased by Bardstown Bourbon Company, if I'm not mistaken. So there's another kind of big player. Again, Bardstown Bourbon Company, think about them just going back a few years ago. They came from no one knowing anything about them to where they are now, mass producing whiskey, people buying whiskey from them. So, I mean, just in that 4, maybe 5-year time frame, I mean, they've gone from dirt to being one of the biggest whiskey producers, out there. So, things are moving fast, like really fast. And I don't know if it's a scary thing, a good thing. I think it's a combination of both, but I'm excited and a little leery of kind of where things are going, all at the same time. So how's it going, Curbs? Good to see you, brother. Always good to see you. Let's see what else we got. So so acquisitions. So someone mentioned acquisitions earlier. I think we're starting to see this with BBC being scooped up by grabbing. Yeah, okay. So I think I may have just missed that, but yeah, I would agree, and I think this is where you're going to get some companies, possibly like Bardstown Bourbon Company, buying like Green River and things like that, where they just make themselves even more of a player, in the game. So. All right, Adam, what do you got here? So Nancy Fraley is doing some great things, blending for Wyoming whiskey. Absolutely love some of the LEs coming out. Yeah, when we get into like blending and some of the individuals that are part of the whiskey game. Yeah, I mean, Nancy is very, very well known for what her talents are for, really blending some fantastic whiskeys. So you've got to give someone like that a lot of credit. So. All right, so kind of fun transition. So if someone, or if you guys weren't familiar with what kind of transpired in the last, I'll say, 2 weeks, I'm sure things have been going on for a lot longer than that. But, Jackie Zikan leaving Brown-Forman, Old Forester. At the time, maybe a week ago, we weren't sure exactly what it was. You kind of have an idea of, someone doesn't just generally leave like that without something else kind of already brewing. Well, we found out today what her new kind of venture was, and it's her basically, I guess, having access to barrels. The company is going to be named Hidden Barn. So it will be very interesting to see what her spin is going to be on, again, I believe all of the barrels that they have, well, it's got to be. I mean, they're new enough that they don't really have their own stuff. So I don't know where they're getting it from, if it's Kentucky whiskey, MGP, what it is, but it'll be interesting to see what her overall like involvement will be with this new brand. And again, that just kind of falls into where and what we're talking about now is these new brands. And I think now is probably even more importantly, she's a big name. Everyone knew how she blended, all of the whiskey for Old Forester. Now she's going into this new venture with Hidden Barn, and I believe she's part owner. I believe she's part owner in the whole deal. So it'll be very interesting to see where that goes, and her big name, her blending skills. So I think this is where that will advance that brand that much quicker. Like, people already have a big name behind it and are going to kind of expect, I think, a lot of things out of her, coming from Old Forester, and what it was that she was doing there is, will she now be able to produce the kind of whiskey or blends there that she was doing, at Old Forester? Again, we know it's different whiskey. We know it's not going to be, Brown-Forman stuff, but she has got some pressure on her. There's a little bit of pressure there for her to get that brand up and running, big name behind it. And that's going to be a kind of a really, really big deal. So that will be something really cool to kind of see where Hidden Barn goes and how quickly they get there. I mean, her first blend and first whiskey to market will have to be, I think it's going to have to be a home run, honestly. I think it's going to have to be one of those things where the expectation for her to put together something incredible right away, my opinion is that I think it needs to be a home run for her and their sake, just to get that company, off and running and kind of make a big name and a big splash, in the world of whiskey. So what else we got here? All right, Paul, what do you got for me? She partnered with two guys from Colorado, Royce Neely. So I know Neely Family Distilling. I know they're doing some interesting things. I've not had a lot of stuff, but I've heard a lot of really great things about him. I don't know who the guys are necessarily, unless I maybe saw their names, who they were from Colorado. I don't know if they were more financial guys or whatever it may be, but it'll be interesting to see, how things really kind of take off for that. So yeah, Jared, that was just one of the things where, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, to have that name and know exactly what she did and how involved she was with the whiskey community, and how good she was about kind of, kind of keeping her ear open and listening to what it was a lot of us wanted. And I think that's where some of the kind of newer things developed, and how and why she was able to put some of that stuff together. So we'll see if now this new brand in whiskey kind of translates into, the whiskey world. I mean, we're the hardest, critics out there. Like, all of us, when we get a hold of these bottles, we're going to have some kind of expectation. We'll all have something probably slightly different, but the expectation is going to be, hey, you left Brown-Forman to go to this other company. Therefore, we have the expectation that you're going to do something, similar or on par with kind of what it is you did at Old Forester. Whether it's fair or not, it's just the judgmental part of things. It's where we are. I think we have huge expectations. It wouldn't matter. It was the same thing for from Kentucky Owl, Dixon Deadman. So when all of that stuff transpired and everything kind of fell apart with Kentucky Owl, he started kind of some of his own things. Things are starting to get going now, and the pressure will be on. I mean, when you leave these big brands and you're going to put your name behind it, we're going to find out whether the rubber meets the road, and are your skills, truly that of what we're all used to. So I don't know if I'm placing unfair, expectations on her. And I guess you guys can let me know whether or not you're in agreement or you disagree. But I just think now, like, if you've got a big name and you leave, you jump ship and you start your own thing, like, you better come out running. Like, that's just my thought on that. So problem will be everyone is expecting an Old Forester taste. So Adam, I'm not necessarily expecting it to be an Old Forester taste. I'm just expecting, I guess, more quality. Like, don't try to like lipstick on a pygmy. So like, I don't want you to try to convince me that a 2 or 3 year old whiskey or something is really good. Like, I get it. Like, I don't need a lot of people to tell me, and or you guys to tell you whether or not the whiskey will be good. I think we'll all judge that for itself. That's why I just think she's got big shoes to fill, and it's her own shoes. I mean, coming from Brown-Forman and Old Forester, that's a lot of pressure, and I wish her all the best. I mean, we don't want to see anyone fail by any means, and we want the best for her. But it'll be very interesting just to see what that very first release is like, and like what her presentation and how she's going to kind of represent that will be. So that's just my thought. So, all right, what do you got, Richie? As far as I'm concerned, she should go to Wild Turkey. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna take that stuff, take her on or not over there. But hey, Timmy, how's it going, buddy? Let me know if you can get released. I mean, I think everyone's gonna probably be going crazy over that. Yep, lipstick on piggy me. So it was kind of more of like, don't lipstick piggy me from the standpoint of, well, you know, I don't know. I don't think I have to explain that too much further. But what do you got, Troy? Her first release is going to have to be, or is going to have so much hype and anticipation. It's going to be so hard for her to hit those expectations. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's just where her own history and past with Brown-Forman is going to create all of those expectations that we're all going to hope that whatever it is that she blends, that it's worthy of us wanting to buy and make us even maybe more intrigued for future releases. I hope that's the case, and that would be awesome if it is. So, all right, so let's kind of shift on, and I think we had talked a little bit about this as well, but pricing of whiskey, and I think a lot of us have probably already started to see some of that, but I mean, we get a lot of times, and I get it, Foregate, Old Carter, a lot of these brands. I mean, lots of things now, Barrel King, when you're in the $100 to $200 range, I get it. It's a lot, but it's where we are in whiskey. Like, I still don't think that $100 to $200 bourbon range is necessarily a crazy number, unless you're trying to just sneak a bunch of super young stuff, something that's not really developed. Now, like, for instance, Barrel King, Nashville Barrel Company, you can have fantastic, incredible 6-7 year bourbons, 8-9 year old ryes, all of those things. I'm not saying everything's got to be 12, 15 years. I'm not saying that, because there are some great 6 to 8 year bourbons that you may think are significantly, higher in age just based on profile. Barrel King was a great example of that. The Nashville Barrel Company that we did for Mash and Journey was a great example of that. And price wise, I mean, we all see it. Like, you go and you buy these bourbons nowadays, outside of the big boys who've got so much stock that they can afford to put out the, let's call it mid shelf. I'm not going to say bottom shelf stuff, but if you're in that $40, maybe $50 range, those are prices now where, again, excluding some of the special things that we get that are DC. I can already see it already. I'm going to be getting something here shortly, aren't I? Lipstick piggy me. I'll tell you, it's all right. I can already sense it already coming. So hit me with what you got. I can take it. But price wise, I mean, like, hey, I think when we go places, there's a lot of $50 bottles, lots of those maybe those were $35 bottles not that long ago. So the prices continue to creep up. But in terms of value, again, I get it. It's all subjective. But when you take into consideration the cost of the barrels, finishing barrels, the fact that you can't just, like for a smaller company that can't buy, whatever, 1,000 barrels at one time, they're going to pay a little bit more of a premium because they're not buying the volume from somebody else that there may be. And the cost of new make. So here was a little example of what some info I got today. So let's just call it a barrel of new make. So they make the whiskey, new charred oak barrel, goes into the barrel. If you or I were going to go and it was available to buy a single barrel of new make, let's call it Kentucky whiskey, let's call it Kentucky bourbon. Leave a comment, put a comment in there what you guys think. And this is a confirmed number basically today as to what a single barrel of new make whiskey that we're going to let age for how many ever years. Let me know in the comments what you think the cost of a new make barrel would be. All right. So this is just if you had it filled today and you could take it home with you, what your cost would be. It's not $6,500. So if that would be the case, everything would be $300 for a bottle of whiskey. So it's definitely not 6,500. Not 2,000. All right. So you guys are kind of shooting a little bit high, but again, we're talking about just you fill the thing today. Now you take it. So you guys are fairly close. So Daniel, you're a little bit close. So about $12.50 was the cost of, again, this is a Kentucky bourbon. So if we fill a barrel today and they say you can take the thing home, what do I owe you? About $12.50 was the cost for that. So and then going from there, it was up until about 5 years old, another $1,000, maybe slightly higher per year beyond that. So as you can see, so a 2-year bourbon would now be, whatever, let's call it 2,200, 3,300, so by the time you get to 5-year bourbon, that may be $5,000, $5,500. So you can see where the costs are. So when people start, I don't want to say necessarily complaining, it's just where we are in the world of whiskey these days, and they're not going to lose money. And if they know all of us are going to ultimately pay the price for what that is, $100 to $200 for a really good bourbon, I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. Now, again, there's going to be some hits and misses on those bottles, but I think a lot of us, understand that. And again, with the smaller companies, there aren't that many bottles. So the people who are buying those bottles are you and I. So they're not having to worry about 50,000 bottles of, $200 plus bourbon. That's not the way it is. Old Carter's not making that. Fourgate's not making that. Whoever it is like that, they're not producing that many in batches, single barrels, whatever it may be. So you can see where these costs are going to start to creep into why it is we're paying that. Now, again, if that's an issue for anyone, that's fine. I get it. You can buy, Jim Beam White Label or, regular Maker's Mark. I mean, those guys are always going to have, generally speaking, those kind of bottles on the shelf. There will always be those, budget friendly kind of bourbons, and there's nothing wrong with those. They're good whiskeys. They're just not what it is we're having to pay a slight premium for. So that's the way it is, because like, for example, like a Barrel King, like they're going into either MGP or a broker, and they've got to buy all these individual barrels. So they can't sell this bottle to you and I for $50. Their cost doesn't allow that. So, I mean, their break even on these things are probably fairly close to what the retail price is. Maybe there's a 30% increase on that, but you factor that into then all the other overhead and everything. You can see where volume becomes a very, critical part of them selling these bottles, is that they need to make up all of that with the sale of all their batches. So, like, for instance, when we sell a bottle through Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, trust me, guys, we're not making hardly anything on those. Like, we honestly, we may make a buck or two a bottle, and that's it. Like, and we're just kind of covering a little bit of our time going to these places, all of that. So that money's already spent traveling and doing all the time and all that. So in terms of making anything, we're not making anything really on these. So that's all going back to the club. That stuff is more to get you guys fun and different, interesting things. So don't think we're sitting over here on this side of it, selecting barrels and becoming ultra wealthy. That's not the case at all. But just going back to pricing, I just wanted to harp mainly on the fact that there's a reason why so many bottles are $100 and plus, is that if we're buying from these smaller craft, either distillers or NDPs, they have no choice but to sell that stuff to us for that. And we either have to accept it or you buy bottom shelf stuff. So that was a little bit of my rant, there on that. So, all right, what do you got here, Ritter? So my Brewing Society has 20 barrels of our own mash bills, chars, etc., various ages. 3 boys, they run about $2,000. So, yeah, and again, I guess depending on what it is they're doing. So they're a smaller craft producer, so maybe they can. I don't know what that age is. So like, I don't know what the 2000 is a new make, or if that's a year or two old in terms of cost. But yeah, I can see where maybe it'd be slightly less for a little lesser known, kind of distiller or something like that. Yeah, Adam, and that's really all it is. I mean, we're basically covering our expenses, traveling to go do these things. So by the time stickers, we're having to pay for all that. So yeah, at the end of the day, we really aren't making. If we do get something, it's turned right back into more stickers, more time, whatever it may be. So that's kind of how that whole thing works. Because we got something not long ago about like why we were maybe charging so many people these prices and stuff. And I mean, it's honestly, by the time our partner, whether it's keg and bottle, shared pour, seal box, by the time they buy that barrel, they put their price on it, and then we get it, there's already 30+% put on their cost just to cover them. So we can't charge more just from a regular MSRP standpoint. We do whatever we can just to that's good. A comment of the night right there. I wish I could afford to it'd be cubic zirconia is what it would be. I can tell you that, Adam. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I wish. If you see me in a Lambo, trust me, it's a rental or I stole it. One of the two. That's the only way I'm getting one of those things. So, but anyway, yeah. So that's really what we do, like on our end. It's as simple as that. And again, when you really kind of break it down to, the buyer. So, well, let's say the producer, then the guy comes in, buys the barrel of whiskey, does everything that they need to do. We get it, do our little part. You can see where a $50 bottle now turns into $100, $115, whatever it may be. By the time you factor in all those costs, shipping, they got to get the stuff shipped to them. So there's so many behind the scene costs of things. It's crazy because, and we get it. Like, people are saying, that's crazy. I'm not paying $100 for that. Or why is it so expensive? Well, it's because not everybody can be Jim Beam. Not everybody can be Buffalo Trace. So when you get these things and we have those prices on them, or you see those bottles, in a store for $100 to $200, think of all of the elements that kind of go into that. So that's my little rant on some of those things, because I think people at times think they're getting gouged, like the bottle somehow is a $20 bottle and then they sell it for $150. Trust me, that's not what's happening at all. It's not even close to that. So yeah, I wish. So Todd sees us. He's been part of the whole deal. He knows what Popham knows. So any of you guys who've been on picks with us, you get to see ultimately how glamorous it is. I mean, we're kind of no frillsing this thing. So it's just the way it is. We're having a damn good time. We love to share the whiskey that we pick and people we get involved and who we get to hang out with. That's what really keeps us going. So, all right, what do you got here, Ritter? So the cost was for them to distill a house of bourbon. We buy our own ingredients. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's all right. That's slightly pricey. So, all right, what is this interesting? From recent KDA reports, Kentucky's share of distilleries nationwide has dropped from 24% to 6%. All right, so I guess that's kind of a good going back to kind of your question before about some of these smaller companies, eating into some of the bigger guys, because that's a pretty big number. So there's my man. How's it going? Trust me, I've seen their picks firsthand. Can confirm that Scott actually does. This guy, I'll tell you. You have like that love-hate relationship. That's Trev's. That's our relationship. So it's more of a, I think between him and I, it's really a little bit more of a hate relationship, but it is what it is. So no, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, just doing these things. I mean, Trev was with us when we did the Maker's Park or the Maker's Mark pick, and that was all a lot of fun. But and again, that was probably a bit more extreme. They did kind of take care of us with some of those things in terms of shuttling us around and all of that. But again, at the end of the day, it was a ton of fun. You get to hang out with great people. Sometimes it was the first time Trev and I, got to meet. It was a great, day, 2 days, whatever it may be. And that's really honestly why I think Jason and I do a lot of this stuff, is to find good whiskey, get the stuff to you guys for as good a price as we possibly can, and hopefully expose a lot of people to whiskeys that they wouldn't either maybe have known about, wouldn't have a chance at. So that's the big thing for us. So it's an awful lot of fun. Yeah, they definitely spoiled us with that one, and they're not all that way. Most of them are not that way. So Makers did a really, really fantastic job with that. So so what do you got here? So Makers and Four Roses would be my top choices if ever able to do a pick. So let's talk about that real quick. So here was the deal. Makers was probably one of the best experiences. By the time you got to go to the grounds, fantastic. The blending process, how involved we all were, that is not something that you will do really almost anywhere. It's that's a exclusive kind of thing, and we all had a fantastic time. So the other example is if you're talking about Four Roses. So when we did the Four Roses, it was as simple as let's see, what was it? Maybe 6 of us. Yeah, I think 6 of us were in this, I'll call it small-ish kind of little pole barn, maybe let's say 40 by 25, not huge. We had all 10 recipes set on a table in front of us on like a little lazy Susan or whatever the hell you call it, little thing. And then we went through them. We went through them individually with all of us. Nothing overly glamorous about whatever that was. Great time, great people. That's part of the experience. But it's not all, you know, you know, Lambos and diamonds. I can tell you that. I mean, heck, when we just did the one at Russell's, we're walking through these rick houses with, ceilings on some of these things where you're banging your head. They're like, 5 feet tall. I mean, you got to make sure you don't step on the net. It's crazy what some of these things are. Now, again, the experience is what trumps, all of these things. So that's the best part of really the barrel picks and all of that. So, but I didn't really mean to get off on that little kind of tangent or anything, but yeah. So here, like Marty, when we did the Four Roses, I mean, there was nothing. It's all about who you're with and the experience and stuff. But again, in terms of what we did, we just entered a room. They had everything poured for us. We nosed it, tasted it, selected it, and we were done. Now that was over the course of like probably a couple hours. But again, it wasn't like they're, we're sitting there eating like steak and lobster while we're doing all of this stuff. So, what do I got here? I need to go get my Bourbon Journey Instagram page bigger so I can be good enough to go on a pick. Yeah. Hey man, we try to do as much, and we get a lot of requests for barrel picks. Now, we try to accommodate as many as we can. I mean, between Jason's and ours, it's an awful lot of people. So rather than always just working on just the barrel pick thing, I think what we're going to try to do, and I got to talk to him a little bit more. I'll see him in a couple weeks. A little quick shout out. So I'm going to try to do a 50th birthday live stream on my birthday, which will be July 30th, which is a Saturday. So the end of this month, I'm going to try to do a live stream. Jason will be here with his girlfriend. We're going to try to get myself, them, my wife, all of that. And then I'm going to crack open my Al Young 50th anniversary bottle. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit special for the 50th birthday. So hopefully that'll be a fun time. Looking forward to that. So, but yeah, again, going back to that part of it, what I think we're going to end up having to do is probably a big meetup, hopefully in maybe like Kentucky. May try to get a whiskey company or two involved, put together a whiskey pairing dinner, maybe try to do something out at like Watch Hill proper, maybe get the guys from Foregate involved. We'll see. I'm going to talk to them a little bit more about that. We've also talked about getting out to Sagamore out in Baltimore, maybe doing something at their facility. And they've got an incredible right there on the, I don't even know what you call that, like the bay or whatever, probably maybe the bay. But they've got a fantastic outdoor facility. Same thing with indoor. So it's very conducive to trying to get a group of people together. I don't know if it's easier with Kentucky being semi-central versus East Coast. We'd have to kind of look at that, the demographics of, or the well, would be demographics, of course, but that would be the geographics. Jesus, come on, get it together. So we'll see. We're maybe thinking sometime in October, either a late August or maybe an East. So we couldn't possibly do two. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but so that'll be kind of interesting. And that's one way that we're able to get to meet a lot of people, because man, it'll probably be impossible to get people on picks. And of course, everyone wants to be on, Old Forester, Four Roses, all of these things. And trust me, I get it. And those sometimes aren't even always the funnest ones. Sometimes the smaller ones are even more fun to do. Like when we were down at Wilderness Trail for the first time, they kind of gave us an option. Hey, do you want to sit in this little room and taste through things? Or do you want to go out with a whiskey thief and just drill barrels and find whatever it is that you want? We chose the latter, went to the Rick and found an incredible rye whiskey for the Wilderness Trail stuff. So you just never know how it's going to be. So we can meet up about, yes. Yeah, we could. A lot of people have opened up their places. So yes, it's I think that was it. I think it was not the demographics. I think it was the hieroglyphics. So yes, I think you're right with that, DC. So anyway, what was that is oh yeah. So I'll show you here. I'll show you. This was one of the things I brought back for This was one of my my dogs. This was one. So for all you guys who like his little bling, I don't know if you can see. So that's I don't know if anyone can see that or not, but yeah, that was one of his little distillery necklaces. So anybody thought that this guy wasn't living large. So that's what happens when you do all the barrel picking, right, bud? All right, go give mom her necklace back. All right, so anyway, so I think that's basically it. So Chinsig, dude. So yeah, that was kind of the Flavor Flav. That's good. Hey kitty, you stay away from my doggy. I'll tell you that. So Taj Mahal, Jesus, I wish. But no, so I mean, the idea is for us to definitely do something and hopefully meet a lot of people. We'll try to give you guys obviously a big enough, heads up as to, when and where and all that. But if we can do a nice kind of dinner whiskey pairing, maybe try to make it a 2-day event, something like that, probably over a course of a weekend. That's just generally easier. Then I think that's what we're going to do. That way we can get to meet more people, interact, and maybe work out a couple of different, little things. So we're looking forward to that. I know I am. I know Jason is as well. So what do we got here? If you wanted a lipstick piggy me, check Facebook. Okay, hang on a second. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see what DC. Of course, I knew this was coming. I knew. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys. Oh my God. Can you guys even see what DC has done? Oh Lordy, I'll tell you, this guy is. He is too damn much. That is so bad, but oh my God, look at that lipstick piggy me. Oh my God, sometimes that's why I just keep my mouth shut most of the time. I'll tell you, it's just ridiculous. Yes, he is the man and the nemesis all at the same time. So, but incredible. Yes, he does. And you just can't encourage him. You give him something, you say something stupid, and all of a sudden that he is the reason where and how the nickname the Hawk came from. He was quick on all of that, and there was the ham hock body and the fish. Oh my God, that's a whole. I'm sure most of you have already seen that stuff, but it crazy. But anyway, it's fun. It's fun to embrace all of that stuff. I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really fantastic people, including a lot of you guys. I look forward to meeting hopefully a lot of people, and hopefully, I'm hoping that Kentucky is kind of a good meetup place. There's a lot of things going on. It's a good place to go because, we all enjoy, good whiskeys. And I think that will be, that'll be something really, really fun to do. So let's talk a little bit. Let me see what we've got for next week. I'll let you guys kind of know here real quick. So I've got some kind of fun things. So I don't have anything lined up for next week yet, but the following week, the 19th, I've got the guys from, it's called Smoke Boards. So what they do is they've got these like little smoke boards. You hit it with a little kind of torch, kind of create some cocktails. So that's going to be kind of a little bit of a cocktail live stream on the 19th. Then the 26th, I've got a company by the name of Blind Barrels coming on. So basically what they do is they curate these blind samples, send all this stuff out. I think it's like 4 or 5 100 mLs that they send out to people so that you can kind of go through a little slight tasting, but thought I would kind of share a little bit of that. So trying to do a couple of little fun things. Also working on getting Bill McBrayer from W.H. McBrayer whiskey on. We're having a little issue with just getting some dates kind of locked down, but we're working on that. So let me I've been talking way too damn much. So, and I know the junkies are going. I don't know if 21090 is going tonight or not. So, but that will be, well, either one. They all do a fantastic job. So, All right, Richie, what do you got? Who's been the most open distillery when it comes to picking barrels? Oh man, the most open. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me think about this for a second. Most open. Okay, no 21090. Wilderness Trail was big. I mean, we could have spent all day at Wilderness Trail just drilling barrels until we found what we wanted. So they were absolutely fantastic in terms of kind of opening things up and letting you kind of do what you wanted. Whatever it was, 3 weeks ago, a month, I can't even remember now. But when we were down at Wild Turkey, that was another interesting one. We weren't sure what to expect on that, but right, what's Marty saying? Oh, so this one real quick. So Marty from Whiskey Knows next Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, next Tuesday he's got Greg Metz from Old Elk on. So you'll have to check him out. I don't know what time he's doing it. I don't know if he's doing it at his normal time, which is like 7 Eastern, I believe. So he can maybe leave a comment or something in here as to what that is. So. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. I appreciate hanging out with me for an hour, a little bit. I know junkies are going. They're talking about, I think, favorite whiskeys of 2022 so far. Not sure how many of those there can even be, to be honest. I mean, it's just been crazy in terms of, I think, the lack of, I'll say, great whiskey, this year. Like trying to think off the top of my head, maybe 4-Gate Kelvin Collaboration 4. Loving some of the Barrel King stuff. I think they're for me on part of my list. We'll be doing a 2-barrel picks with them. We're kind of finalizing some stuff there with that. Looking forward to trying the Calumet 16. I've heard good things. I know Marty was going to work on getting a bottle of that for me, so I'm looking forward to trying that. I mean, so many of the picks. I mean, fortunately, when we do the picks, we were able to get bottles, and we're big fans of those, of course. But overall, like just regular store-bought bottles, it's really been a tough year so far for trying to, find things that are not going to be, super crazy stuff or super difficult. Like, I mean, I know the new like Russell's 13 has dropped, but again, finding it, getting it, paying anywhere close to, MSRP. I mean, I don't know. I mean, secondary's crazy on that stuff. So anyway, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'll probably have to pop on there for a little bit, kind of check some of that stuff out. But so yeah, hopefully next week I've got something. July will be a pretty busy month. Looking forward to the 50th birthday celebration, which will be sometime on July 30th. I don't know exactly what time yet, but we'll figure out a time. Kitty, we're actively working on some of that stuff right now. So we're trying, not for a lack of effort. It's just a matter of securing it and kind of falling in line with, being able to do one with those guys. So we're hoping that we can get one of those in. I'm sure at some point we will, but we've got a lot of things coming here pretty soon. So if you're not, here's a little shameless plug again. If you're not part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, linked in the top of the chat is the link for that. So you can join there. But that's it, guys. I greatly appreciate everything that I get from you guys. I appreciate you letting me talk your ear off for almost an hour and 10 minutes now. Greatly appreciate all that. Always enjoy doing these things. Wasn't sure if I was going to even be able to get to do one tonight, but I'm really glad that I was able to. So that's okay. We'll work on it. We'll work on that for you. But I just appreciate all of the support, whether it's Patreon subscribers, comments, all of that stuff, just text messages, all that stuff from you guys. I appreciate it more than more than you know. So with that being said, go check out the Junkies. They got Jason on with them. Holy Christ, that was loud thunder. So anyway, before I lose power at my house, I'll sign off. Remember, it's about the journey, not the destination. Guys, have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next Tuesday. Cheers, guys.